Welcome to Hannity Busy News Night. We're glad you're with us because we are tracking multiple major breaking stories as we begin. And tonight, the deep state is in even more deep trouble, no pun intended. U.S. Attorney John Durham has been appointed to investigate the origins of the Russia probe. This is huge news. This is the boomerang we've been telling you about, a massive step forward. Now, Durham is a nonpartisan career U.S. attorney. He specializes in uncovering corruption at the highest levels of our federal government. Now, back in the early 2000s, Durham was appointed to investigate the FBI's Boston Police Field Office, and resulting in a conviction of an FBI special agent as well as another law enforcement official connected to the notorious gangster Whitey Bulger. In 2009, Durham was appointed to investigate abuses in the CIA. Over his decades-long career, well, Durham has successfully prosecuted dozens of government officials, gang members, drug traffickers alike, and he has been praised by members on both sides of the aisle for his steady and cautious pursuit of truth and of justice. And tonight he is squarely focused on why our country's most sensitive intelligence tools were turned against its own citizens at the height of a presidential election. Now, Fox News is reporting that Durham is collaborating with the Inspector General Michael Horowitz in his ongoing investigation into FISA abuse and FISA abuse fraud. And get this, Durham's investigation is not new. It has now been underway for weeks and possibly even months. And needless to say, the bad actors in the deep state, they are getting very nervous tonight. And they're now turning on each other. Little circular firing squad forming. Lisa Page, Peter Strzok, well, they're blaming Loretta Lynch for the rigging of the investigation into Hillary Clinton and her server and obstruction of justice. And Bruce Orr, well, he's blaming the DOJ and FBI officials for ignoring his warning about Christopher Steele and the dossier. Well, that was in August of 2016. James Comey is trashing Strzok and Page on national TV, and he's also in a fight with Rod Rosenstein. They're attacking each other's character. And also, Andrew McCabe is attacking anyone pretty much with a pulse. Well, it's crisis mode for the deep state, and it's every man, every woman for themselves. Even Comey's former general counsel at the FBI, James Baker, he's trying to get ahead of this story by warning that Horowitz is going to uncover some major mistakes in the FISA process. You think? Take a look.
The Inspector General is looking at everything that we did, and if the IG usually finds mistakes that we made, and so I expect him to find mistakes this time. But I can say that, at least from the intent of the people that I was dealing with, there was no intention to do anything wrong or illegal.
Let's see, mistakes? You mean like using untrue, something that is unverifiable, Russian misinformation, propaganda, outright lies, paid for by Hillary Clinton to literally inform the American people because it was leaked to the Washington Post, David Corn and Michael Isikoff, as the very basis for a warrant to spy not only on an American citizen, but an American citizen working for the Trump campaign and the entire opposition party that none of these guys we know wanted to win that election. Well, interesting. Or like when James Comey swore that information provided to the FISA court, he signed that first FISA application. He was signing that that was true and correct and verified and corroborated. And by the way, the application has the word verified on it. Now, Mr. Baker, that would not be a mistake. That would be willful, premeditated, a criminal act committed for the sole purpose of deceiving and committing a fraud on the FISA court and stripping Americans of their constitutional, inalienable rights while trying to also simultaneously rig a presidential election in the United States. And not only did Comey make no attempt to verify or corroborate Steele's so-called intelligence, well, there is now, again, more growing evidence tonight that Comey knew full well that Steele was completely unreliable. A brand new report breaking from investigative reporter from The Hill, John Solomon, showing that the State Department official, Kathleen Kavalek, did, in fact, inform a high-ranking official at the FBI about her meeting with Steele many days, many as 10 days before the FISA warrant against Carter Page. The first one was submitted in October of 2016. Here on this developing story, investigative reporter from The Hill. We have our friend John Solomon is with us. All right, this is getting more interesting by the day, and there is no doubt that they were warned. Especially Bruce Orr warned everybody. That was in his closed-door testimony. But in this particular case, this woman, Miss Kavalak, she, in fact, warned them directly.
Yeah, it's important. For the first time, we know who in the chain of command actually got tipped off by the State Department that Steele had made this remarkable appearance on October 11, 2016. The person she identified is a guy named Stephen Laycock. At the time, he was the section chief for Eurasia inside the FBI counterintelligence investigation, so the division that was doing the Russia investigation. My sources tell me he immediately forwarded Kavalak's information to the team running the Russia case, which would have been Pete Strzok's team. Why is this important? We know from the October 11th meeting notes now that the State Department detected from Steele inaccurate information about his allegations about Russia collusion, that he had an election deadline, a political motive, an election day deadline to get this dirt on Trump out to the public, and that he had been leaking to the media, specifically the Washington Post and New York Times. The FBI should have gone and checked that out. That's what former people who held Mr. Laycock's job today, prior predecessors say that's what we do at the FBI. When we get a tip-off that our informant is rogue talking, you go back and you check it. You don't just proceed with your FISA and ignore what went on. So a very important development tonight, and a new witness identified for those in Congress in the Inspector General's investigations.
All right, what do you know about what's going on with the Inspector General report and Mr. Durham, who's been appointed? And our reporting tonight shows that he has been working for at least a number of weeks, if not maybe months.
Yeah, I think that most significantly, this gives the Inspector General investigation the ability to get grand jury subpoenas through a sitting U.S. attorney. So it creates a new investigative tool that Inspector Generals don't normally have. They're usually administrative in their approach. And remember, some of the people that are key witnesses no longer fall under the Justice Department's purview. They're former employees because they were either fired or resigned. So the U.S. attorney have a great reputation of investigating fairly and honestly but toughly prior controversies inside the FBI. He's now involved in that tool. The grand jury subpoena is another piece that can be played here to get to the bottom of the truth.
All right, investigative reporter with The Hill, John Solomon, thanks for joining us tonight. And truth and justice, as we've been telling you, it's now happening. It's cascading down. No one in the deep state is safe from justice, which is why they're all turning on each other. Operation Boomerang, no longer Operation Crossfire Hurricane, is in full effect. The Russian hoax is now in the rearview mirror. Mueller is over. The entire witch hunt. Anything you hear going forward, well, that is only noise. The president didn't collude. He didn't obstruct. And the left's fake, phony narrative about the Trump campaign, their conspiracies about Russia, is not even on life support at this time. It is dead, it's buried, and it's not coming back. But the anti-Trump mob, especially in the media, they just can't seem to let it go. That includes, by the way, James Clapper, who was literally begging CNN to get back on message, get back to the conspiracy theory that's been disproven 4 times. Sure, great TV coverage.
We're kind of losing sight of what was the cause of all this. The predicate for all this was the Russians and the Russian engagement. And now we know apparently dozens of cases where Russian operatives, some of whom were known to have intelligence connections, were trying to engage with the Trump campaign. That's what the concern was, and was a predicate for any of this investigation. I wish people would pay more attention to Volume 1 of the Mueller report, the exhaustive detail about what the Russians did. And we're losing sight of that.
Actually, well, James, many Republicans, like Congressman Devin Nunes, who'll be joining us tonight, they've been warning about the Russia threat for years, 2014 most recently. This all happened under your watch and Biden's and Obama's watch. But it was then President Obama, he was just laughing it off. Tell Vladimir I'll have more flexibility after the election. If you look at the Volume 1 of the Mueller report, you will see it was the Trump campaign that rebuffed Russian operations every step of the way. And while it was the Clinton campaign who actually paid for Russian disinformation in the form of a dirty dossier full of Russian lies, New York Times suggesting maybe Russian disinformation from the get-go. That dirty Russian dossier that you, James Clapper, allegedly leaked to your current employer, fake news CNN, yeah, that one. But James, tick-tock, because John Uber's investigation into leaking is around the corner. Of course, that's no concern of the House Intel chairman. That would be Adam the Cowardly Schiff, who doesn't seem to care about government leaking or abuse of power, because Schiff is on an all-consuming mission to smear, slander, besmirch, attack the President of the United States, which is exactly why he is desperately trying to get Robert Mueller to appear before Congress. Maybe he doesn't realize it's over yet. Maybe somebody needs to tell him. Take a look.
We're in conversation with the special counsel's office, and it's not that they've confirmed a date, but this is going to happen. It has to. I think the Republicans and I think the Attorney General even understand that. That's why Barr has said repeatedly he's not going to stand in the way of Mueller testimony. I think that's because he knows he can't. That's just a bridge too far even for them.
He said he had evidence, too, and everything. The only one that we have on tape colluding with Russians is him. Remember, he was talking to a Russian hoaxer who said that he had, damning information on Donald Trump. And he was asked, well, what is the nature of the information? Naked Trump. Did Vladimir see it? Yes, but of course. Busuka. Surrounding an actual hoax and conspiracy theory. 4 separate investigations cleared President Trump. The FBI's 9-month investigation under Comey came up with nothing. The special counsel's 20-month investigation, nothing. The House Intel Committee's investigation, nothing. The bipartisan Senate investigation, nothing. But then you got sleepy, creepy Uncle Joe Biden, who's desperate to try and win and delineate himself from the radical leftists in his own party. Well, some saying even the frontrunner at this moment, he's not going to let facts get in the way. During a question and answer session on the campaign trail, sleepy, creepy Uncle Joe put on his tinfoil hat conspiracy theory game and pushed his favorite Trump-Russia conspiracy theory. Shocking. Just lie to the American people and hope it works.
He's an illegitimate president in my mind. That's it. He's illegitimate. And my biggest fear is that he's going to do it again with the help of Vlad, his best pal, and we're going to be stuck for 6 more years with this guy. And that is terrifying. It's terrifying.
Would you be my vice presidential candidate? Folks, look, I absolutely agree. And one of the things we have to do here, we got to get this part straight, in my view.
All right, like most Democrats running for office, Biden is willing to say anything to score a cheap political point, whether they're smearing a nominee to the U.S. Supreme Court or attacking even a 16-year-old high school kid for daring to wear a Make America Great Again hat or pushing a Russia hoax over nearly 3 years now. The left's quest for power knows no bounds. Biden and Obama had their shot. What did they give us? 13 million more Americans on food stamps, 8 million more in poverty, the lowest labor participation rate since the 70s, the worst recovery since the 40s, the lowest home ownership rate in 51 years. Not 1 year, the only presidency never to give us 3% GDP growth, and they took on more debt than all 43 presidents before them combined. Joe, run on that record. And by the way, sleepy, creepy, Russia happened on your watch. What did you know and when did you know it? On this program, we will always demand the presumption of innocence, equal justice, due process, the pursuit of truth. But buckle up, it's going to be a huge year full of massive developments and lots of lies.